It's the Eagle Community Television Forum with your host, Gary Shorman.
Welcome to the Forum. I'm Mike Kerner in for Gary Shorman this week. The Forum brought to you by Hayes Med Center. Our guest this week is Dennis Schiel. You may have seen his artistry throughout the Hayes area, western Kansas area, central Kansas area, climbing on buildings. You're kind of like Spider-Man, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right.
Dennis, let's ask you real quick here. We've seen your murals. Recent one is the VFW in Russell.
Right.
You've been on the VFW in Hayes, and then the Fox Pavilion, that big mural. In fact, it was over the weekend. I saw some people out there, tourists, and they had their phones out taking pictures of that big mural on the Fox Pavilion. That's kind of cool to see, isn't it? When you see your work getting pictures taken of it.
Yeah, it sure is. I enjoy people. I mean, when I'm working on the mural, it's a lot of fun just to have people come up and talk to you because, you know, they all have different views.
Yeah, oh, sure. Now, how many murals have you done besides those three?
Just those three.
Okay.
You know, we started that 3 years ago. We did the Fox. And the only reason I did it is because we was going to do the water tower down, or the grain bin down by the railroad tracks.
By the new pavilion.
Yeah, and then Union Pacific came in and said, no, you can't do that because we're going to tear that down in the next 3 years. Now it's been...
Yeah,
we'll see. Better scratch that.
We'll get into your projects here. We'll kind of talk about that in the second half of the show. But I want to ask you, this artistry, this painting of the murals, or just painting, how did you get started? I mean, when you were a kid, did you always want to paint?
I was an artist all my life. I went to school for technical illustration, and then I got a job, quite a few different jobs, illustrating for, one of the biggest was illustrating for the new space shuttle, you know, way back in the 80s. And then I got a job with Phelps Dodge's copper company. I was art director for them. And then the copper went down, so they laid off people. And I says, I'm not going to do this for anybody else anymore. I'll just do it for myself. And so I started doing art about 35 years ago.
Yeah, but you haven't always lived in Hayes. You were in Colorado before you came here, but you've got your son lives here and family live here. So
that's why we moved out here.
Okay. So you've been doing this artist work and doing these murals, and how did you figure all that out? Because I would think that making the sizes all kind of work out and maybe making it look three-dimensional, how do you do all that? And then, I mean, you're up on this mural 40, 50 feet high, and then you've got to get down, and then you know, sometimes as an artist you want to step back and look at it. How do you step down from something that's 40 foot in the air?
You keep on going up and down and back. No, it just, you know, usually I'll make a couple measurements on something, and once I get it going, it just flows. You know, those really have probably as much detail as the finer ones, like in the state capitol, the mural in the state capitol. It's real fine detail. And probably each one of those subjects took as long as one of the subjects up on the wall. You know, it just, but it flows really nice, and you don't see mistakes when it's that big.
Sure. do you take some I guess your own leisures and maybe change it up a little bit, or you're getting up there and going, that hair color needs to change a little bit, or that hair needs to be a little bit longer, or that outfit needs to be a little grayer. Do you make some of those changes as you're going?
Yeah, and a lot of times it depends on what color of paint I have left. You know, so you end up using it, like on the Fox, I'd have probably maybe a little of this color and a little of this color, and I would think to myself, well, we need to have grass over on this side, so I just slap it on there, figuring I'm going to have to do it over again. Never did have to go back and do it over again. I mean, it just happened to fall in the right place. So.
Wow, it seems so phenomenal that you can get all of that done. Do you start with little pictures? I mean, do you have a little picture up there with you of what you want to do and where you've got it drawn out ahead of time?
Yeah, we have the subjects. We come up with the subjects, and then we turn around and put a collage together, and then I kind of square it off, so I kind of know where everything's supposed
quadrants?
to be. Yeah. And so that way, when I start, I know how to get the measurements pretty quick and get them up there. And then once I get that on there, it's just putting the detail in.
So which one was the hardest? Maybe the VFW in Hayes, I think, because it was pretty warm out there. But then again, you were on the north side.
It depends. All of them had their problems. The Fox Theater was the highest. You know, that probably went 35, 40 feet. It was getting used to that, going to that height. The VFW here in town it was the brick because it was so porous. I mean, you just couldn't draw a straight line because it would just go into those pores. And then over at the VFW in Russell, because it was on the west side or east side, it got a lot of sun in the morning, so it got pretty hot out there. You know, but each one has its own unique.
And do you have any plans for anything coming up?
Well, we have. We proposed to do a one on the new water tower out by Sternberg after they painted another color. I'm not sure that'll happen. We have to raise $260,000, and that's a lot of money to raise. So we'll see what happens there. But if we happen to get that one done, that would probably be the biggest, maybe in Kansas, I would say.
Wow.
You know, maybe not, maybe the biggest around. It'd be 170, total 170 by 67 feet high.
Do people see your artwork and they say they want to try to commission you for other artwork?
Oh yeah, I'm getting them right now. As far as the murals go, I've probably got 3 lined up, 4 lined up. As far as my commission, ever since I did the piece, finalized the piece at the state capitol, I get lots of calls.
I bet so. So what we wanted to do is find out a little bit about your background and talk about that here in the first half of the show. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to talk about the art pieces that people can see around the area and how those kind of came about and who raised the money and what they're all about. So we'll get to that, okay? Dennis Schiel is our guest today. He's a local artist. I want to thank him for being the guest on the forum. I'm Mike Kerner, back with more after this from Hayes Med.
Hayes Med is your first and best choice for healthcare. They're the only facility providing tertiary level services in this region. With more than 70 physicians and 26 specialties ranging from heart, orthopedic, spine care, cancer, obstetrics and gynecology, wound care, rehabilitation and surgery, including the Da Vinci robotic surgery, Hayes Med is your comprehensive health provider for people throughout Western Kansas. Hayes Med, helping people be healthy.
Eagle Communications is your ultimate business partner. We provide business class phone with customizable features and fast, reliable internet. Your knowledgeable team at Technology Solutions has a broad base of IT services to meet your needs. Let the experts at Marketing Solutions get your message to the right people on the best platforms. The only piece missing is your business. Call Eagle Communications today at 877-61-EAGLE.
Welcome back to the forum. I'm Mike Kerner in for Gary Shorman this week. If you've got a show idea, Gary would love to hear from you. Gary.Shorman@eaglecom.net. The show brought to you by Hayes Med. Our guest today, Dennis Schiel, a local artist. You've probably seen his murals around the area, the Fox Pavilion in Hayes, VFW in Hayes, and most recently, VFW in Russell.
Right.
How did those all come about? Let's start with the first one, the Fox Pavilion.
Well, the first one came, we turned it, the Hayes Arts Council commissioned it. And so it was a 501c3, so anybody could donate to it, and it would be a tax deduction on. So it turned out to be a pretty good project or pretty good way of raising money. On the Vets Club and the Hayes Arts Council also kind of had the commission. Well, the Hayes Arts Council was a commission entity, but the Vets really got behind it too. So they helped me raise money on that one. The over in Russell, the Roar, which is...
Well, I could probably help you
out
with the Russell Original Art Review.
Right. They raised the money. They called me up and says, what would it cost to do this? And we went and visited throughout the city to find the best canvas. And the VFW was pretty much a pretty good canvas. So then they says, okay, well, what's it going to cost to put it up there? So they raised the money on that one, and then all I have to do is paint it. So.
Do you have to wait a while as they raise money? You're anticipating going and doing it, but you can't go this week. They don't have enough. Can't go this week.
Well, they came to me like middle of last year, and they asked me if they. And so we had the idea together. So they had a half a year before I even could get started painting. So they had plenty of time to raise the money, and it was no problem.
Very good. So how do you have these commissions come up with the ideas and draw that out ahead of time that you mentioned in the first half of the show? Do you have like a board of directors and all these people sit around deciding what it's actually going to look like?
The easiest ones are when there's just 1 or 2 or 3. The harder ones are when there's a whole group of people. I did a piece way back when for K-State, their for their 150th. And there was a lot of people involved in that thing, and we ended up changing this and changing that and changing this. But most of the time they come up with the subjects, or I come up with the subjects and put something together, and then they turn around and say, okay, we don't like this, or let's change this. Now in the case of Russell, I ended up starting with one. They presented it, the Roar presented it to the Vets Club, and they came back with changes. So they came up with all the different subjects.
So you've got these boards to appeal to, but I'm going to ask you this one because I know the answer to the question, but do you have a lot of people that come up while you're doing it to give you advice too?
Oh, we get all kinds of people coming up. You know, make sure, like over in Russell, we had a guy, make sure that you put the mast in the right place on that ship. You know, or we had, well, the funny one was, I'm way at the top of the Fox Theater. Mm-hmm. And I'm up there, and this guy walks to one side, and he looks up. And he walks over the other side, and he looks up. He does that for about, I don't know how many times, and then he says, hey! So I went all the way down on that scissor, and it don't move very fast. You know, I get all the way to the bottom. Do you have a spare dollar?
Oh, no.
But I've had a lot of people just, you know, well, don't you think? And I said, okay. So when I go back up, it wouldn't change.
Just appease them a little
Yeah.
bit. Wow. Well, I appreciate you coming in here and talking about all your great artwork, and we look forward to seeing more of it. I have a feeling that you're going to get more and more of it as you go along because it looks so good. And next question, do you want to come over to my house and help me paint the house?
No.
No, you don't do that
I don't do that type of painting.
I would think that would be a lot easier. You're one color and you go.
Yeah, that probably is.
Well, I appreciate you coming in and talking to us today. Local artist Dennis Schiel is our guest today on the Forum. I'm Mike Kerner. The Forum brought to you by Hayes Med. I want to thank Gary Shorman for allowing me to host today. Again, this is the Forum. Thank you very much.